Hi everyone, welcome back to the Game of Confidence. In the last video, we described what the game is, the basic structure, what are the different moves, what outcomes result from those moves. We also discussed how you can introduce this game via a story to the kids, and we spoke about why this game is so famous. In this video, we are going to talk about how you're going to actually play this game with the kids and the different ways in which you can get the kids to think about this game. Okay. Now, once you've explained the basic structure of the game to the kids, they will play this in multiple rounds. Okay, so let's play a mock game. Suppose there are 3 rounds, and there's player 1, P1, and P2. In the first round, let's assume that both of them cheat. They don't know each other. They think cheating is the safer option. I'm going to use C to denote cheat and a green O to denote cooperate. Now, in the second round, say player 1 continues to cheat, but player 2 decides to cooperate. And in the third round, player 1 decides to cooperate as well, and player 2 cooperates. Maybe this is because player 1 saw that player 2 cooperated and now is motivated to cooperate as well. Okay, let's calculate the total payoffs from this game. So in the first round, both cheat, so neither gets anything and neither loses anything. In the second round, player 1 gains, so let's write first 0, 0. In the second round, player 1 cheats and player 2 cooperates, so player 1 gains 3 points and player 2 loses 1. And in the third round, both gain 2 points. Okay, so the total payoff for player 1 is 5 and for player 2 is 1. Now this is interesting, right? If you might think, oh, player 1 has gained so much more, they've gained 5 and player 2 has just gained 1 point. Even though player 2 did arguably, or quote unquote, the better thing, which is to cooperate. Maybe they should not have done that, you might think. But well, if both of them had played selfishly, and if then both would have cheated in all 3 rounds and they would have each gained nothing, just 0, 0. So yeah, even though player 1 has gained more than player 2 has, player 2 has still gained more than he or she would have in the scenario in which they would have both cheated in every round, right? 1 is still better than 0. What if we added many more rounds to this game? Would that maybe lessen the difference between the payoffs between players 1 and 2? Just some things to think about. Okay. Let's play another game, and now we're going to play this game with certain character profiles. So we have the opportunist and we have the copycat. Now the copycat is someone who always cooperates in the first round, but after that always copies what their opponent did in the previous round. The opportunist is similar with one key difference. So the opportunist also cooperates in the first round, but she cheats in the second round and then behaves like a copycat. So after the second round, the opportunist will copy whatever their opponent did in the previous round. So the opportunist will first cooperate, then cheat. So the idea is that he or she is first trying to trick their opponent into cooperating as well by establishing a good reputation of cooperating in the first round. But then they cheat in the second round so that they can get 3 points, possibly. And then they behave like a copycat. So then they do whatever their opponent did in the previous round. So let's see how a game between these two characters would pan out. So, by the descriptions that explained, both of them are going to cooperate uh, in the first round. Now, the opportunist decides to cheat in the second round, and the copycat is going to copy what the opponent did in the previous round, so the copycat will cooperate. Now, the next round onwards, both are going to behave like copycats. So both are going to just copy what the opponent did in the previous round, which means now the opportunist will cooperate, but the copycat will cheat. In the fourth round, it's going to be the reverse. So now the opportunist will cheat and the copycat will cooperate. And as you might have guessed, now the opportunist would cooperate in the last round and the copycat would cheat. Okay, so let's calculate their total payoffs. From the first round, both gain 2. In the second round, the opportunist gains 3, the copycat loses 1. And it's the reverse for the third round. And now it keeps alternating. And the total payoff for both of them is 6. Okay, now there are more things to think about as well. We had 5 gameplays here. What if there were just 2? What would the payoffs be? Would one of them be at an advantage? Or if the plays were not an odd but an even number, would one of the players be at an advantage? Okay, so we've seen different versions of this game by now. What are the different ways in which you can get students to think about this game? This is a really, really nice game because it relates to so many things in real life, and there are so many different directions in which you can take students from this game. So let's see what some of those directions might be. So you could start off by just asking them, okay, if there's only one round, what's the best strategy? So this goes back to what we spoke about in the first video, where, if players are behaving selfishly, then they should cheat. If there's multiple rounds, then what's the best strategy? Does this dictum that everyone should cheat in order to maximize the individual gain, does that hold even if there are multiple rounds? How do we even define best? Because we've been talking about just maximizing individual gain. But is that how we should understand best, or we should understand best in terms of fairness? So what is the fairest outcome or the fairest move the best, or is the one that results in the maximum individual gain the best? You can also link this with the idea of individual versus collective good, which is really the heart of this game, right? You could either play so as to maximize your individual good, but then no one ends up with anything, or you could sort of bear some risk and play in order to maximize the collective good, and then everyone ends up with 2 points. Okay. You could play a lot with different character profiles. So we spoke about the opportunist and the copycat, but the workbook and the teaching guide have multiple other profiles listed. So there is the grudger, there is the cooperator, there's the cheater, there's the random player. And you can get students to sort of inhabit different profiles and see how the game turns out. And you can also ask some questions like, okay, if I'm playing against a grudger, then what is the best strategy for me? What is the character profile that is going to be the best one to adopt if my opponent is a grudger? Things like that. And finally, you can also ask them things like, how does this game relate to concepts of trust and reputation? Right? We saw that trust is such a big part of whether the players end up cooperating or not. Or if I have a good reputation, then people might think that I will cooperate, and that might end up in like that's related to trust, because then people will end up trusting me. So how important are trust and reputation in different contexts, in the context of this game, etc. Okay, so now I'll leave you to it, and I hope you have a lot of fun with this game, and I hope you have some engaging conversations with your students through this game.